Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about Orphan First Kill. This movie came out in 2022, and it's actually the first Orphan movie I've ever seen. I still yet have seen the first movie that came out in 2009. I remember when the first movie came out in 2009, I really wanted to see it because I was curious. I didn't know why this little girl looked so disturbed in the promotional picture and stuff. So I've never seen it. And in fact, even till before watching this movie just recently, for some odd reason, I haven't even researched the movie. Like, that's normally something I would do, and I didn't even research it. So I had no idea what this movie was about, what Esther was about, what she was a 30-year-old woman pretending to be a kid. I didn't know what none of this stuff was about. And I couldn't believe I didn't even research it and stuff, but I went in this movie completely fresh. And when I watched it, but I knew something had to be going on with the Orphan movie. I figured something disturbing had to go on because of the way that girl looked. And when this movie was called Orphan First Kill, I'm like, oh, okay, that's her thing. She kills people, but to what extent? So I was very curious and stuff. Apparently this movie is a prequel and everything. And I remember when I saw this, I'm just kind of like, wait, hold up. That's the same girl from the first movie over 10 years ago. I mean, like, man, she has barely aged and everything. And but you can tell she has aged, just not as like dramatically as most people. And I remember somebody talking about, man, what's her like healthcare regimen or something like that. Somebody said online like that for her to look so youthful and everything. And this movie was made by Paramount Pictures. The first movie was made by Warner Brothers. Why? That's exactly why it's on HBO Max. And I still haven't seen it yet. I remember I saw it on HBO Max. I'm just kind of like, I'll watch it later. And then I forgot, and I don't have HBO Max no more. And so the first movie was directed by somebody completely different, and I can't even pronounce that person's name. But it was produced by that of Leonardo DiCaprio and everything. And it made a tons of money at the box office. And so, like I said before, going into that movie, I had no idea Esther was like 30 years old. I had no idea her real name's not even Esther. I had no idea about the family from like Orphan Kills and everything. So I was really curious to see what this was going to be about. And I decided not to make this in my Halloween theme movie format because I don't know, it really doesn't feel like a horror movie or a slasher movie. Because the way she kills in this movie, yeah, she is psychotic and she kills and everything, but it's not really in your Halloweenish type thing. Now, the twist, boy, that got me in this movie. Like, I was like, oh my God, I was not expecting that. And everything that happened afterwards was just kind of comedic in a way. I was just like, man, how in the world are they making us root for a terrible person? Like, you really feel bad for Esther and you don't want her to get hurt. But we know she's a terrible person. But that twist was mind-blowing and everything. And it's funny because it's just hilarious because it's kind of like Esther's this bad person. She kills people and now she's met somebody who's meaner than her and she has to do this facade for real now of pretending to be a little girl and everything. She's literally held captive and stuff. This is such the craziest reveal I have ever seen. However, when it comes to this movie, I feel like it was rushed big time. I mean, it came out in 2027, so it was made in 2021, maybe a little bit of 2020. And, the pandemic was really strong around that time. And so they couldn't have that many people on set, not that many characters. And it just kind of felt very, very, very rushed. Like, after the big, twist reveal, everything after that just felt rushed and everything. And so after watching the movie, I saw some interviews and stuff because I wanted to see what the actress, Isabella's real voice sounded like and everything. And cause like Isabella Furman, I think her name is. I was wondering because she's not like a 12-year-old little girl no more. So I was curious. I'm like, oh, okay. When I started watching this movie, I'm like, I know how they did these like practical effects of like making her look shorter than what she really is and stuff. I figured, they had to get like a stunt double. In fact, they got two. One's a little girl, one's an adult, younger, shorter person and stuff. They had her on like squatting and on her knees, and and all the back shots was from somebody completely different. And they did a really good job. And of course, the platform shoes that the stars had to wear and make her look shorter and stuff. I really appreciate they went the practical effect route instead of the CGI one. However, there is CGI in this movie, and it does look like CGI. And that's the fire at the end of the movie. I'm just kind of like, that kind of took me out. It just didn't look or feel real. It just looked like Hollywood, like green screen type crap. And, but when I say things are rushed in here, I mean like the character progressions of some of these people, the way some of these kills happen, the big climax, like it just feels rushed. It's not a terrible movie. It's a good movie. It just, I feel like it could have done a whole lot more. They would have took their time and stuff. Now, there were some silly moments in the movie that, like, I was just kind of like, why would you write that? That don't even seem cool and everything. But what's interesting about this is that this reminds me of Slasher Season 4 with Appa. I've reviewed Slasher Season 4. Go watch that. I had to make it for like 18 and up because of YouTube's like restrictions and crap like that. But anyway, Appa was a little foreign girl, probably from Russia or Ukraine, similar as Esther, and she got adopted into this family. She actually fell in love with the father, and she killed too and everything. But when she killed, it was gruesome because she literally bit a woman's nose off and everything. And she was just nuts, talking about Appa good, Appa bad, and everything. And then when you saw the reveal of who she really is, it was just mind blowing. Whereas, in this movie, the reveal for me was not mind blowing of Esther being 30 because it was just literally just told to you as she's in this mental hospital. It probably would have been a bigger reveal in the first movie. I've got to see that first movie and stuff. And so, like, basically what it is that Lena is a girl from Russia and she's in a mental ward. She cons people out their money by pretending to be like their long lost like child or something like that, and and stuff like that. Now I feel like this movie should have been called Esther, which was the working title for the movie, because when it says orphan first kill, I'm expecting to see her first kill ever, but apparently she's killed before, and that's why she's in the mental hospital and stuff, because she's very dangerous and everything. Now, it was also interesting that there have been true life stories like this, where I remember reading something about an actual grown adult woman who pretended to be a little girl and everything and got adopted by this family. This is one reason why Hollywood keeps doing this, is because, true life events and stuff. But, this movie should have been called just simply Esther and how she became Esther. I felt like it should have been that. And I really wish the writing was stronger. The plot development and progression could have been a whole lot stronger. So basically we see her in this mental ward and there's a new lady working there, and somebody sound the alarm because Lena has been missing from her room. So they put the new lady in this one room, and then all of a sudden there goes Lena just drawing the picture. And so like she's very, like, I could tell something was wrong with this girl and disturbed, but I didn't know exactly what. And then so finally the orderlies come in and they see her and they make her put the pencil down because she has in a very stabbing looking manner. And she just seems like a very awkward, nice little person. And, and then we find out, she conned his family and she's dangerous. And this is why she's in the psych ward, so she doesn't hurt herself or nobody else. And so, like, it freaks that woman out to the point because, like, she does escape from the mental ward. Now, her escape was a little too quickly rushed. I know they had to get her out of there for the plot to progress to her to get to the American family, but it's just the way she escaped was kind of weird. It's just like there's this one mental person she can control with candy, and when she does, she attacks this one person. The orderly dude is like, in love with her, so he buys her a dress. And the way she killed him was just kind of blah, in my opinion. She just bangs his head really like hard against the wall, and he dies. Then she like, dresses up and gets on out of there. And she's very smart, like, to grab the like, the door key and, to hide around and throw candy at that one crazy lady so she can attack this one person. It just felt a little too rushed and a little too crisp and everything of how she escaped. But, she had to escape to the point where nobody could really find her. But then once she did escape, like, because she scared that lady in the car, and the lady went back in and told what happened. They're like, don't worry, we'll catch her. And then she sneaks back in that lady's car, and then she drives to that lady's place and murders that woman. And, it's kind of like after missing, you think somebody would have like, posted her picture. Well, of course, around Russia, they would have never done it around America. But like, but they should have known something was up, because when she went to that woman's place, she got on the internet, and she looked up this American family to see like, who she can pretend to be. And then she went to like, and let the police find her. So talking about like I've been kidnapped and, I'm from America and blah, blah, stuff like that. After all of that, you think they would have looked deeper into that one psychiatrist lady being murdered, and then looking on her internet history and stuff like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because they literally called the family that was missing their child Esther and brought them to like Russia and stuff. And you think there would have been a stronger investigation or something like that, but there wasn't. Then when she is in America, she has to pretend to be like this girl. And so like, I felt like, okay, the psychiatrist lady or whoever she was starting to wonder, okay, could there be something about this girl? Because something seems a little too rehearsed. And I would have liked it more if we could see how Esther, or Lena, I should say, pretends to be other people, like really do the research and everything, And she really didn't do her research that well, because she didn't know much about this person, just playing by ear. And so when she messed up with like the bird and stuff like that, it was a huge like red like flag for the psychiatrist lady. But then there's this one Asian man who keeps lingering around. And when she is in the home with the family, the brother is just kind of like whatever. And it's kind of like you think he'll be more happy to have his sister back. The dad is happy. The mom is happy, but the mom feels a little out of it because the psychiatrist all like this feels rehearsed. And, the mom is starting to snoop around and starting to find this weird stuff. And she's starting to notice something's weird with her daughter and everything. So I like that part. And then, but the part that was kind of like was messed up was then when Lena grabs like, the mom's hand in a very scary way, and the mom is shocked by that, but she does put literally two to two together at some point to start investigating. But, I was like, why didn't she go to the husband about this? And then I know why. And so like, but then the brother's personality just started to act very odd. It's really like he just didn't care she was home. This is supposed to be his little sister, Esther. And then the Asian cop dude shows up. And I believe he's the guy who played the villain in the third Ninja Turtles movie, the Lord Naga dude or whatever his name was. And so I felt like the whole thing with the cop was very, very, very rushed. It's like, why did he suspect that Lena wasn't Esther? And the family accepted it. Like, why didn't they do a blood test on the girl? Why didn't they do a fingerprint on the girl? You know what I'm saying? This is the sloppy writing I'm talking about that makes you like think and wonder. Why did, like, seriously, why did he suspect that this was not the real Esther? Why did he suspect the family and everything? What drove him to that point? It would have been nice to see that, but we never really do. We just see him snooping around the house, stealing something with her prints on it, looking at the prints and seeing it's not a match, and determine, oh, she's not Esther. When Esther gets wind of this, she sneaks out to his place and she murders him and everything. And it just felt way too rushed. This should have been like more of an investigation type, detective type movie of trying to determine who this Esther girl really is. And I would appreciate that a whole lot more if it was more like a true crime detective type movie. And the cop was in the movie a whole lot more, trying to figure out like why, like what was his motive for not believing this. That's the thing, you know. And then there is the huge twist that happens when Esther's all like, you know, even the mother doesn't suspect, like, you know, anything. So how did you? And he's all like, she does. And then you just see boom, boom, boom in his chest. And it's the mom holding his gun. And I love Isabella's reaction. It's all like, mommy. And everything. Like, her facial expressions are awesome in this movie. And then after this is when everything gets comical to me, because the mom's all like, all right, I know for a fact you ain't my daughter and everything, because I had to bury her and everything. So who are you? So then when she finds out, seriously, just the biggest like, oh my God moment. But the problem with this is like, so the mom discovers that Esther is Lena and she's a 30-year-old woman, and she's all like, all right, look, my son accidentally killed my daughter and I would do anything to protect him. So, but you being in my husband's life makes him so happy. So you're going to keep pretending to be this little girl or I'm going to kill you. But here's the problem with all this. Once Esther goes through her supposed teen years and they see this woman is aging, but not aging the way a teenager does, they're going to get suspicious. At least the father is and everything. And so I don't know how they were going to pull that off unless they said she had a gland disorder. But what was crazy is that the brother and the mom knew the entire time that this was not the real Esther, but they played it off like that was the real girl and stuff. But here's my problem with this big plot reveal. I like Julia Stiles and everything, but she came off more as a baller, like more of like a mobster, more like a gang leader and everything. She just like her expressions, like her everything was just kind of like, that's messed up and everything. But she was in control the entire time. And every time she was in control, she just acted like a gangster, like also cavalier and everything. She never acted once like a mother who grieved the death of her actual daughter. And her truly wanting to protect her son. I would have loved it more if she was a little bit unhinged. That's the thing. But she just played off as a cool gangster and everything. And that what kind of took me out the movie, is that the mom was so cavalier about the entire thing, as opposed to really grieving and sobbing over her daughter. It's almost like she didn't even care about the real Esther. But then when Lena brings up Esther's name, talking about, you buried your daughter here, because they had to get rid of the cop body, so they buried it in the same place they buried the daughter. And she's like, don't you bring up my daughter's name or my dead daughter's name. And it's like, why? You obviously don't care and everything. And so it was just, I didn't feel the mom really cared. And I just felt like she was more of a gangster who controlled every situation, but for whatever reason loved her husband enough not to tell him and all this other crap, you know? So then it becomes the weirdest thing, whereas the person who's supposed to be the real killer in the movie is now a hostage and has to do everything this psychopathic gangster woman wants her to do. And I find that hilarious. So then, after watching this movie, I saw an interview where it's like, oh, okay, Esther fell in love with the father, and then she murdered the family, and the house went into a blaze of glory. So we see the interaction between Esther and Lena and, like, you know, the father and everything. And where they do have a bond and everything, especially when she holds his hand and kiss it and stuff like that when they're painting. Like, the actor who plays the father is a good actor. I've seen him on Rain before. And but the problem is that like there wasn't much of a connection between Esther and the father. Like I never really felt like she was in love with him or even infatuated by him or even crushed on him. It was just something that was there. I didn't feel it between those two. Only time I did was when she held his hand and like kissed it because he had paint on it. But other than that, I never got the impression that she liked that man. And of course, the mom picks up on this and doesn't like it and tells Esther straight up, what makes you think he's gonna want you? You're pretending to be his daughter. And then when he finds out the truth, you really think he's gonna bang you and everything? And I felt that real from the mom. And I felt Esther's expression, her just looking in kind of like a sad kind of way, thinking about, I will never be a true adult and everything. And, I felt that. But other than that, I never felt that Esther loved this man. And so he had to go out of town for a business trip, and him and her are painters, and she plays the piano. I think he helped get her into some kind of art, like to see some kind of art teacher or something like that. And she's scared at this point. Like she wants to go with him. And I love all the interaction about, Daddy, take me with you. I loved all that because she is generally scared because the mom the night before tried to kill Esther and everything with poison in the food, and Esther gave it to the rat, not knowing it was poison in there. The rat died, and that was her friend, and she got pissed and went all John Wick and everything, to where she fixed the mom a smoothie with a rat in it. So this is at the point where the mom is just kind of tired of her and stuff, because she knows it's not going to work, but she still has to do this ruse for like the father and everything, the husband. And so when he goes out of town, this is when Esther like tries to be all like, all right, this is my chance. They're standing near the platform of the train. I can push both the brother and like the mom in there and kill them both. But a man stops her before she does it. This alerts the mom, and the mom knows, oh, it's time to end this. But Esther wanted to do that and also kill the brother because the brother threatened her, talking about, I own you now, and all this other crap. And many times Esther would like smack him, and almost like he liked that and everything. So Esther, like, she maces him in the face. She runs out and she steals the car. And the car scene was cool. It was like she finally got to be an adult for the first time. And she got to put on lipstick and smoke a cigarette, listening to music, driving the car, putting on shades, tussling her hair. But then, the cop came. And she pretended to be an adult until the cops are like, oh, you must be Esther. And she's kind of like, had a sad look on her face. She knows the moment she goes home, she's screwed. And she was. Because this is when the mom tells the son, all right, we got to end this now. But then this is when the silliness comes again. The son is a fencer. He grabs his fencing sword and mask, but they didn't realize the mask is too silly and puts it down. The fencing sword was too silly. And so, like, he goes hunting her down, but she grabs, like, the crossbow and kills him, and then she stabs him over and over with the fencing sword. Which it shows just how brutal she is, but we knew that in the beginning. But it was just a silly moment with the fencing. So I really wish they could have played out the more hunting her around the house and then the brutal murder and everything. Because because he threw her down the steps, but we know she ain't gonna die because she's in the sequel after this. So then the mom starts chasing her outside the window, and they're on the roof, but the house is catching on fire. And the CGI fire and flame looks so fake. When they was outside, that looked so fake and everything. I get it, they didn't want to put them on a real roof because it could fall off and actually really die, but it just looked really fake. So then the dad shows up because he gets a call from the cops talking about Esther ran away, and so he's back, and the house is engulfed in flames, and there's no real struggle on the roof. It's just they both slip and dangling from the roof, and here comes the husband. And Esther's like, Daddy, save me, Mommy's gone crazy. And the mom's all like, no, she's really a 30-year-old woman, and blah, 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 blah. So all of this was very quickly written and rushed. And then the mom, like, he has to make a decision. Who did he save? He doesn't have a chance to make that decision because the mom slips and falls to her death. Then he saves Esther. And then when he looks at Esther, he remembers what the wife said. Oh, she's a 30-year-old woman. So then he starts messing with her mouth and her fake teeth comes out. And he's all like, who are you? And everything. And then she gets mad and she pushes him off the roof. But then she gets like worried. So like, oh no, what did I do? And then he dies. It would have been so much better if he had to make that decision of who do I save, the wife or the daughter and everything. Like it would have been like if he would have saved Esther because she's the youngest, of course, and left the wife to like dangle, she would have been pissed. It would have been a more of a dramatic moment than the mom slips. Then what would have been even more crazier if he would have found out who Esther really was, and then they actually have like get it on and everything, only for him to like reject her, and she gets mad and kill him that way, or like they struggle and fight on the roof once he figures out who she is and show her actually killing him. But no, she just pushes him and he dies. I wanted that to be, because if this is supposed to be the big thing that sets up the sequel into her backstory, it should have been more dramatic than this. Then comes the oddest thing ever. Because she's cuckoo in the head, she walks through the house as it's literally engulfed in flames, changes her outfit, and stuff like that. And all I could think of was, one, the CGI fire looks fake, and two, there's no way in the world she's gonna walk through this blazing hot house and not be sweating, not be choking on like smoke, not nearly getting burnt. It was just so comedic and everything, of the music playing and her walking through the flame house, and that would have never happened. There would have been smoke everywhere. She would have been coughing, choking, and just all that kind of crap. Then, of course, we get the ending where they put her in the foster care and talking about she's been through a traumatic moment, and they found a nice foster family for her, which sets up, the sequel movie, the first movie and everything. And I'm just kind of like, I feel a bit disappointed in this movie. There should have been a whole lot more dramaticness and suspenseful. I would have loved to see her try her best to pretend to be this Esther girl and really learn how to be. I really would have liked to see her brutally murdering people, because she's a tiny person. So to see something like that would be very interesting, like the whole Appa thing. I wanted to see the real connection between her and the father and stuff. I wanted to see there be like a big struggle between like the three of them and everything. Which one does he choose? And I didn't get none of that and stuff. And so I'm really curious to see what the first movie is really about. And how dramatic it is, and see if it's the better movie than this. But I will give it up. The acting was good. And like, the practicalness of her being short was good. And that twist was still jaw-dropping and everything. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.